People think God only works in peace, in quiet and comfort. But truth be told, God does his loudest work in chaos. When your life looks like it's falling apart, that's when he's doing construction. It's not destruction, it's demolition before renovation. Before he builds, he clears. Before he blesses, he breaks. You think things are going wrong, but God is shifting the foundation. He's removing what can't go with you to the next level. You ask for a bigger future, he's making space. That storm you're in, it's not there to ruin you. It's there to rearrange what's been holding you back. Growth never happens on mountaintops. It occurs in valleys, in breakdowns, in the mess. You think the pain is a sign you missed it. No, it's a sign you're in the middle of it. You're being stretched into the version of you that can handle what you prayed for. Most people fold when life gets dark. They think the darkness means God has left. But seeds grow in the dark. Purpose is planted in the struggle. If you only trust him when it's good, you don't trust him at all. Real trust is staying in it when everything in you wants to run. God will strip everything around you to show you what's inside you. Sometimes he removes the noise so you can hear him. You'll find strength you didn't know you had. You'll find grit you didn't even know you needed. And once you come through that fire, you won't even look like what you've been through. Nobody likes the process. Everybody wants the promise, but the path to power is paved with problems. Don't curse the storm as proof that you're in motion. You can't pray for elevation and get mad when God starts shaking the ground beneath you. You don't need to understand it. You just need to walk through it. The blessing is on the other side of obedience. Peace is on the other side of persistence. Stop waiting for perfect conditions that won't come. Get up in the mess and move anyway. There's glory in the grind. There's a purpose in the pressure. And the ugliest moments of your life are often the birthplace of your greatest testimony. God is not done, he's just getting warmed up. Some of y'all are sitting on dreams because you're waiting for the stars to align. You're waiting for lightning to strike, but God already spoke, you just didn't move. He didn't stutter when he gave you the vision. You don't need another sign, you need to step. The problem ain't that God's quiet, the problem is we want him to tell us again what he already said. We want reassurance when what we need is obedience. You don't get to negotiate purpose. You either move in it or miss it. Some delays are self-inflicted. You prayed and God answered. But now you're stuck overthinking. Let me tell you something, overthinking is the enemy of obedience. God doesn't need your logic. He needs your faith. He's not looking for your understanding. He's looking for your yes. You keep saying, I'm waiting on God. No, you're not. God's waiting on you. He already gave you the idea. He already opened the door. You just haven't walked through it. Don't blame the silence when the instruction was already loud and clear. Obedience unlocks overflow. Movement activates miracles. God doesn't bless intentions, he blesses actions. That idea you're scared to act on, that's the thing he's going to use to shift everything. But only if you move. Some people will pray and fast but never take a step. That's not faith, that's fear dressed up in church clothes. You're not going to get confirmation for every step. That's not how faith works. You move, then he multiplies. Stop stalling on your assignment. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Every day you wait is a day someone else waits for the blessing connected to your obedience. There are people whose breakthrough is tied to your actions. God already gave you what you need. The next step is yours. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, when he gives you the green light, don't ask for more signs, start walking. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll never move. God doesn't wait for perfect people, he uses willing ones. The call doesn't come after the credentials. The call is the credential. If he called you, that's the only confirmation you need. You think you're too flawed, too broken, too unworthy. But the people God used in the Bible, murderers, liars, runaways. He didn't choose the polished, he chose the real. So what makes you think your past disqualifies you from your purpose? God is not looking for your perfection. He's looking for your surrender. When you give him your yes, he takes care of the rest. The power is not in your talent, it's in your trust. You give him what you have, and he multiplies it. Insecurity will lie to you. It will tell you you're not enough, that you need more degrees, more followers, more approval. But God didn't consult the crowd when he called you. He put the gift in you before you ever knew your name. Stop measuring your worth by your mistakes. Stop letting shame speak louder than your spirit. You are not the sum of your failures. You are the vessel God chose on purpose, and if he chooses you, he'll equip you. You think your fear is a disqualifier, but it's proof you're human. Even the greatest leaders were scared. Courage doesn't mean no fear. It means fear didn't get the final say. Step forward scared. God works with that. You're waiting for more signs when God is waiting for more faith. You don't need to have all the tools. He is the toolbox. You don't need to have all the answers. He is the answer. What you need is already in motion. When God chooses you, no one else gets a vote. Not your past, not your critics, not even your doubts. You've been chosen. Now walk like it. Where you are right now might feel heavy. It might feel hopeless. You might be looking around thinking, this can't be it. And you're right, it's not. This is not your end. It's just your current location, not your final stop. Don't confuse the chapter with the conclusion. God isn't done writing your story just because this page feels blank or messy or torn. Just because it looks like nothing's happening doesn't mean nothing's happening. You don't see roots growing under the dirt, but they're growing. You don't see the baby developing in the womb, but it's forming. The most powerful things in life start in silence, start in hiding, and start in struggle. And what you're in right now might not make sense until you look back and realize it was the bridge. Stop judging your life like it's a snapshot. You're looking at one frame in a whole movie, one scene. But God's got the full script. This part you hate, it might be the very scene that sets up the redemption, the breakthrough, the victory. But you'll never see it if you keep trying to exit before the plot twists. Pain makes you believe it's permanent. When you're broke, it feels like you'll always be broke. When you're lonely, it feels like you'll never be loved. But that's a lie. Feelings are not facts. You're not stuck. You're passing through. And the fact that you're still breathing means the story is still moving. You got to learn to walk through this season without pitching a tent in it. Don't make a home in the valley. Don't build a mindset around the struggle. You're going through it, not stay in it. God never promised comfort, he promised purpose. Sometimes purpose drags you through some rough terrain just to make you stronger for what's next. People will try to label you based on your location. They'll judge you by the chapter they walked in on. But they don't know what's coming. They don't know what God's got up next. So don't take their opinion as prophecy. Let them talk. Let them doubt. You just keep grinding in silence and let the next chapter speak for itself. Every moment you survive is proof you're not finished. Every breath you take is a sign that there's more ahead. You didn't come this far to stop here. You didn't fight through hell just to sit in it. You've got too much call on your life to settle for struggle. The enemy wants you to quit here because he knows what's waiting on the other side. So don't unpack in disappointment. Don't lie down in frustration. Where you are is not who you are. It's not forever. It's a hallway. It's a test. And if you keep walking, if you keep trusting, what's ahead of you will make sense of what's behind you. Some days you wake up and don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel motivated. You don't feel strong. And you sure don't feel chosen. But your feelings are not the truth. They're just the noise. And if you start letting your emotions steer your life, they'll drive you right off the road. Your feelings will lie to you. Your feelings will tell you to stop when God has already told you to go. You can't let how you feel today talk you out of the future you prayed for. You cried for this opportunity. You asked God for this chance. And now that it's here, your emotions are trying to convince you to sit down. That's why discipline has to be louder than doubt. That's why vision has to overpower mood. You won't always feel it, but you still have to finish it. The biggest lies don't come from other people, they come from the inside. That voice in your head will whisper, you're not good enough, this won't work, you're wasting your time. But let me tell you, your future is bigger than that voice. It's bigger than your self-doubt. It's bigger than the fear that creeps in at 2 a.m. and tells you to give up. You got to stop making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. You had a bad week, not a bad life. You had a rough month, not a failed future. What you're walking through is shaping you, not stopping you. And every tear, every tired day, every time you push through when you didn't feel like it, that's fuel for your future. You don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to take risks. They don't want to grow. But your future demands discomfort. It demands discipline. It demands that you show up even when everything in you wants to check out. Success isn't a feeling, it's a fight. And the ones who win are the ones who keep swinging when their heart's not in it. People who live by feelings never finish anything. They start strong and stop fast. But you're not built like that. You've been through too much to fold now. You've already survived things that should have broken you. So why would you let one bad mood derail what God's building in you? You don't have to feel inspired to be faithful. You don't have to feel confident to walk in your calling. You don't need motivation, you need consistency. Consistency will carry you when excitement runs dry. And if you can just keep showing up, even with shaky hands and tired eyes, the breakthrough will meet you right where you are. To dream you've got in your spirit is real. That vision you see when nobody's around, that glimpse of the life you want to live that's not fantasy. That's the future. But it only becomes reality if you learn to keep pushing past the way you feel and lean into the God who's pushing you toward the finish line. When things go quiet, your mind starts making up stories. You start wondering, did I miss it? Did God forget about me? Did I mess up the plan? But silence is punishment. Silence is planning. When you can't hear God, it doesn't mean he walked away. It means he's working undercover. You don't see the blueprint, but he's still building. And just because you can't hear him doesn't mean he's not moving on your behalf. We're so addicted to noise, to confirmation, to constant reassurance that we panic when God goes quiet. Well, let me tell you, God does some of his best work in silence. He's not ignoring you. He's setting up the next move. And the reason it's so quiet is that it's not time to reveal it yet. The silence isn't rejection, it's preparation. Look at every major shift in life, it starts with silence. A seed goes into the ground and disappears. No applause, no fanfare, just dirt, just darkness. But under all that stillness, something is growing. Something is getting stronger. Something is forming roots. And your life is no different. Don't confuse hidden with forgotten. You want updates, you want status reports, but faith means trusting the process without needing constant check-ins. You think he's late, but he's just lying low. You think he's stalling, but he's setting things in motion that you wouldn't even believe if he told you. Sometimes God has to move in silence so the enemy doesn't hear what's coming. You're in a season where things feel paused, like no doors are opening, like no answers are coming. But what if the pause is protection? What if the quiet is a shield? Sometimes he goes silent because he's keeping you safe. Because if he opened that door too soon, you step into something you weren't ready for yet. Silence requires trust. Anybody can believe when everything's loud and clear, but real faith shows up when it's quiet. When there are no signs, no updates, no confirmations, just a whisper in your spirit that says, keep going. That's where strength is built. That's where you develop the kind of grit that doesn't quit. You've been praying and you feel like you're getting no response, but maybe the silence is the response. Maybe God's saying, I've already spoken, now walk. Or maybe he's saying, I'm still working on touching you. Either way, the strategy is unfolding. Even if you can't see the whole map yet, don't mistake the stillness for stillness in you. You're still moving. You're still growing. And while everything around you seems muted, inside of you something is shifting. The silence is not wasted, it's loaded. And when God breaks the silence, everything he planned in private will explode in public. Most people see failure as a dead end, but it's not. Failure is a detour. It's a teacher. It's a setup for the next level. What you call failure, God calls foundation. He doesn't waste losses, he builds with them. The very thing that embarrassed you, the thing that made you want to hide, is what he'll use to launch you into your purpose. Everybody wants favor, but nobody wants failure. And the crazy part is they come together. Favor doesn't just show up in success, it shows up in the wreckage. It shows up in the no. It shows up in a business that didn't work, the job you didn't get, the relationship that fell apart. You thought you lost, but all you lost was what couldn't stay. You learn more in failure than you ever will in comfort. Success teaches you how to enjoy the blessing, but failure teaches you how to handle it. God will let you fall on purpose so that when you rise, you're built right. You're not built on hype or ego, you're built on lessons and scars and experience. Failure humbles you and strips off the illusion that you're in control. It reminds you that grace is what keeps you, not your grind alone. And once you failed and gotten back up, you walk differently. You love harder. You lead better. You start showing up with authenticity instead of arrogance. Some of the biggest breakthroughs come right after the biggest breakdowns. You think you hit rock bottom, but what if that rock is the foundation? What if failure isn't the end of the story, but the beginning of the real world? God doesn't abandon you in failure, he meets you in it. That's where you find him the clearest, because that's where your pride finally shuts up. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to play it so safe that you never grow. Don't be afraid to bury your gift because you're scared to fall. You've got to mess up to level up. You've got to fall to find your footing. Failure isn't the opposite of favor, it's the vehicle to it. And once you realize that, you stop seeing setbacks as signals to stop. People might laugh when you fall. Let them laugh, because they won't be laughing when God pulls you up and promotes you in front of the same crowd that counted you out. Your failure is not your identity. It's not your definition. It's just your classroom. And if you stay in class, you will graduate into something greater. What didn't work out still worked on something in you. It built resilience. It revealed who was really with you. It exposed what needed to be healed. That failure gave you something no win ever could, depth, perspective, and strength. There's favor buried in the rubble. You just have to be bold enough to dig through it. Too many people are chasing crowds, trying to be liked, trying to be seen. But favor doesn't come from popularity, it comes from alignment. The right people will find you when you're in the right position. You don't need 1,000 hands clapping for you. You need a few hands lifting you, guiding you, and praying for you. Stop trying to fit in with folks who don't even fit into your future. You keep trying to force relationships that God's already expired. Some people were only meant to be in your life for a season, but you're holding on to them like they're permanent, and it's slowing you down. Alignment means understanding who's for your assignment and who's just in your space out of convenience, not calling. Proximity doesn't equal purpose. Just because someone started with you doesn't mean they're supposed to finish with you. Growth will cost you people. Elevation will expose motives. And if you're not careful, you'll trade alignment for attachment. You'll keep people around who drain your spirit just because you're afraid of being alone. But alone and aligned is better than surrounded and stuck. Everybody smiling at you isn't for you. Some people are applauding while secretly hoping you fail. Some folks only want to stay connected as long as they're ahead of you. The moment you start walking in your calling, their support turns into competition. That's not alignment, that's distraction. Distraction delayed destiny. Alignment brings clarity. The right people don't confuse you, they confirm you. You don't have to beg aligned people to understand you. You don't have to shrink to keep their peace. When someone's aligned with your future, they'll challenge your comfort, push your purpose, and hold you accountable to your calling. They won't let you settle. Stop chasing inclusion and start chasing purpose. When you lock into your lane, the right people will start showing up. People who believe in your vision. People who speak life into your name when you're not in the room. People who don't just tolerate your gift, but make room for it. Those are alignment relationships, and they're worth waiting for. You don't need a big circle, you need a solid one. 5 aligned people will take you further than 50 flaky ones. Stop getting mad when people walk away. If they couldn't handle your calling, their exit is your confirmation. Everybody can't go with you. Elevation requires separation. That's not rejection, that's refinement. The moment you stop begging to be included, you'll start building what you were born to build. Alignment brings acceleration. When you're connected to the right people, doors open, creativity flows, and strength multiplies. You were never meant to carry the vision alone, but you were also never meant to carry everybody with you. Comfort feels safe, but it's a trap. It tells you to stay where it's familiar, where it's easy, where there's no risk of failing or being judged. But that's not where purpose lies. That's where dreams go to die slowly. Your calling was never designed to fit inside a cozy little routine. It was made to stretch you, challenge you, and push you into places your fear tries to talk you out of. You can't grow and stay comfortable at the same time. One has to go. That gift inside you, that vision you keep seeing when no one's around, is suffocating under the weight of comfort. It's begging you to move, to speak, to launch, to show up differently. But every time you choose comfort, you delay the breakthrough that's waiting on the other side of your courage. Comfort doesn't require faith. It doesn't require prayer. It doesn't require discipline. That's why it feels so good it doesn't ask anything of you. But that's also why it robs you of everything meant for you. You weren't created to just survive. You were called to build, to lead, to transform. And none of that happens where it's easy. You're asking God to bless a life you refuse to stretch. You want favor, but you won't step out. You want abundance, but you won't risk anything. You want influence, but you're afraid to be seen. Faith without movement is dead. You can't stay in the shallow end and expect deep miracles. The calling on your life requires you to move differently. You think discomfort means something's wrong, but in the kingdom, discomfort means you're getting closer. That tension you feel, that nervous energy in your gut when you're about to do something bold, that's the sign you're stepping into the next level. Comfort is the enemy of calling because it convinces you that average is enough. You're praying for doors to open, but you won't leave the room you're in. What if the next door is on the other side of the step you keep refusing to take? Stop waiting for perfect conditions. They'll never come. The call on your life isn't waiting on comfort, it's waiting on obedience. And obedience often looks crazy before it looks blessed. People stay stuck not because they're weak, but because they're addicted to what's familiar. Familial dysfunction, familiar excuses, familiar cycles. But you're not called to live on repeat, you're called to evolve. And that only happens when you're bold enough to step into something that makes you uncomfortable on purpose. You've got to stop negotiating with your fear. It'll always give you reasons to shrink, to stall, to sit down. But your future is not built on fear, it's built on faith. And that faith will keep dragging you out of your comfort zone because the version of you that fulfills the calling doesn't live where it's safe. There are going to be days where you're drained mentally, physically, spiritually. You'll wake up and think, I don't have it today. And that's real. You're human. You're not a machine. But being tired doesn't permit you to disobey what you were called to do. Being tired isn't a free pass to quitting. It's a signal to press in deeper, to ask for more strength, not to surrender the assignment. When you're tired, everything feels louder. Doubt gets louder. Insecurity starts shouting. Fear shows up with backup. And that's when the enemy slides in, not with a full attack, but with whispers, just skip today. You deserve a break. You can get back on track later, but delayed obedience is still disobedience. The calling on your life doesn't pause just because your energy did some of the most dangerous decisions you'll ever make happen when you're exhausted. Tired makes you vulnerable. Tired makes you snap. Tiredness makes you shut down blessings you prayed for because they now feel like burdens. That's why you need discernment when fatigue sets in. You don't make permanent choices in temporary exhaustion. You rest, but you don't rebel. You've been asking for a favor, but the favor is heavy. It requires work. It requires consistency. It requires showing up when your body is screaming to stay down. That's the cost of the assignment. God didn't call you to comfort, He called you to carry something. And that calling will stretch you past your limits so you learn how to rely on His strength, not your stamina. There's a difference between resting and quitting. The rest is obedience. Rest is recharge. Rest is sacred. But quitting is avoidance. It's walking away from what you were built for because you don't feel like pushing today. The assignment is still active, even when your energy is not. And sometimes you've got to work tired. You've got to prod. Why tired? You've got to walk into rooms and show up tired. You weren't built to run on your fuel. That's why the Bible says not by might nor by power, but by His Spirit. You can't rely on your hustle when you hit that wall. You've got to lean into the source. When your tank is empty, that's when God does His best work, because that's when your ego moves out of the way. Obedience has nothing to do with how you feel. It's about what you were told. If God said move, you move. If He said speak, you speak. Even if your voice is weak, even if your legs are shaking. Obedience builds discipline, and discipline builds destiny. Every time you obey tired, you're telling your flesh, you don't get to leave me anymore. You don't need to feel strong to be strong. Strength shows up in consistency. Strength is doing what God said, even when your emotions are running empty. And when you push through tired with obedience, something supernatural kicks in. Doors open. Breakthroughs hit. Heaven honors the effort you made when no one else saw you dragging your feet but refusing to sit down. It's easy to say you trust when everything's going your way. When the bills are paid, the doors are opening, the people are clapping, trust sounds good. But trust isn't real until it's tested. And that test usually shows up in the dark, when you can't see the plan, when the answers stop coming, when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. That's where trust is forged. The dark is where your faith either breaks or builds. It's the place where all the noise gets quiet, where the crowd disappears, and all you're left with is your thoughts and your God. You can't fake it in the dark. You can't impress anybody. You either believe or you don't. You either stand or you fold. The dark will pull out what's really in you. You've got to learn how to trust when there's no spotlight, no support, no signs. That's the hardest kind of trust. When you pray and nothing happens. When you show up and nothing changes. When you give your best and still lose. That's where the real ones are separated. Because trust isn't about how you feel, it's about what you know deep in your spirit. God is not obligated to give you details. He doesn't owe you an explanation. And most of the time, He won't send one. Why? Because trust doesn't grow where there's clarity. It grows where there's confusion. If you saw the whole picture, you wouldn't need to trust. But when you're walking blind, that's when faith steps up and takes the lead. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. That pressure you're carrying, let it go. God's not asking you to understand it, He's asking you to believe through it. That means believing when you're broke, believing when you're sick, believing when you're lonely, believing when the door slams shut. That's trust. That's what builds unshakable faith. The dark seasons are not punishment. They're preparation. They strip away the surface stuff. They kill the ego. They silence the noise. And in that darkness, if you stay close, you'll hear God clearer than you ever did in the light. Because when all the distractions are gone, His whisper becomes the loudest voice in the room. You don't have to like the dark to grow in. You just have to stay in it long enough to find your roots. Trees don't grow tall because of what happens above ground. They grow tall because of what happens in the dirt. In the hidden place, in the cold, in the quiet. Your calling is being developed the same way. That silence is not absence of strategy. When you trust God in the dark, you're saying, I believe you even when I can't trace you. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith shakes hell. That kind of faith breaks generational curses. So don't run from the dark. Don't panic in it. Just keep walking, even if it's one shaky step at a time, because trust doesn't grow in the spotlight. It grows when no one's watching. You've been frustrated because doors keep closing. People keep walking away. Opportunities keep slipping through your fingers. And at the moment, it feels like rejection. It feels like a loss. It feels like failure. But what if every no wasn't the enemy? It was the escort leading you to your real yes? What if what you thought was blocking you was covering you? Some of the things you begged God to let happen would have destroyed you if he said yes. That job you thought would change your life, it would have drained your spirit. That relationship you tried to force, it would have delayed your purpose. That opportunity you cried over losing, it wasn't yours, it was just a decoy designed to distract you from your destiny. We serve a God who sees what we don't. He sees the hidden motives. He sees the traps. He sees the future you're walking into. So when he says no, it's not to punish you, it's to protect your assignment. That closed door might have saved your peace. That rejection might have preserved your focus. That delay might have saved your life. You've got to stop taking no personal. It's not always about your worth, it's about your path. You're too called to settle for counterfeit. You're too gifted to waste time in the wrong rooms. A no from man is never bigger than a yes from God. He'll shut 1,000 doors if it means guiding you to the one he designed with your name on it. We want everything fast. We want it now. And when it doesn't happen on our timeline, we assume it's a no forever. But sometimes it's a not yet. Sometimes it's a you're not ready. Sometimes it's a let me clear the room first. God's delays are never wasted, they're strategic. He's aligning the right pieces, removing the wrong people, and preparing you for what you asked for. If God gave you every yes you prayed for, you'd be buried in blessings you weren't built to carry. That's not love, that's overload. That's chaos disguised as reward. But when he says no, it's him saying, I love you too much to let you settle. I love you too much to let you miss what I planned. His no is always working for your ultimate yes. When you trust that, you stop fighting rejection and start embracing redirection. You start looking at closed doors and saying, cool, that just narrowed my path. That just protected my energy. That just confirmed it wasn't mine. Rejection becomes clarity. Demille becomes direction. And your spirit stays focused on the bigger picture. The yes you're waiting on is too important to be rushed. It's not random. It's not fragile. It's being protected by every no you didn't want but needed. And when that yes finally shows up, it'll make sense why the other doors never opened, why the timing never lined up, and why the detours had to happen just the way they did. After you're still here, it means something. You didn't make it through that pain, that trauma, that betrayal just to keep surviving. You made it through because what tried to take you out couldn't finish the job. Survival is proof that purpose is still alive in you. And that survival, that grit, that endurance, that bounce back isn't just for memory's sake. It's the foundation of your success story. Success doesn't start when you make money. It doesn't begin when the world claps for you. It starts the moment you decide to keep breathing after everything in you wanted to quit. It starts when you wipe your tears and say, I'm not done yet. That fire you feel when you're low, that refusal to give up, even when you're broken, that's not weakness. That's legacy forming in silence. People look at the glory, but they don't know your grind. They don't know how many nights you cried yourself to sleep. How many times have you faked a smile to keep others strong? How many moments have you talked yourself out of quitting? But God saw it. Heaven counted every tear. And what you survived didn't just build resilience, it planted vision. You survived for a reason. Your past doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you. That depression, that loss, that childhood pain, that betrayal, it built a version of you that can handle pressure now. You're not soft anymore. You've been through fire and come out refined. Your success isn't going to be random, it's going to be rooted in your survival. Every scar is a seed. Every almost broke me is fuel. There's something powerful about someone who's been through hell but still dares to dream. That's a dangerous person because they're not moved by setbacks. They've already seen worse. They're not shaken by delay, they've lived through storms. Your survival gave you a muscle that can't be bought. You can't teach that kind of strength, you have to live it. You didn't survive just to keep hiding. You didn't go through all that just to shrink. There's someone out there who needs your story. Not the polished version, the raw one, the real one. Your survival isn't just a private testimony, it's a public roadmap for someone else's breakthrough. That pain you made it through is someone else's permission to believe they can too. You're so focused on what you lost, you haven't looked at what you gained. You gained wisdom. You gained strength. You gained perspective. You gained spiritual authority. Surviving didn't just keep you alive, it made you qualified to walk in rooms others can't even step into. Your success is coming not because you're lucky, but because you endured what most people couldn't. So don't dismiss what you survived. Don't downplay it. Don't get embarrassed about what you came through. That was the training ground. That was the soil. And success, real success, is born from seed that's been buried, pressed, and watered in dark places. You're not behind. You're not broken. Your planet and your survival is the proof that the harvest is coming. Let's be honest, waiting on God's time will test every ounce of patience you've got. You'll have moments where you're staring at the ceiling saying, God, where are you? You said you'd do it, you promised. And you're not being ungrateful, you're just tired of waiting. You're doing your best to trust, but the silence feels loud and the delay feels like denial. That's real. But just because you're frustrated doesn't mean God is late. What we call delay, God calls design. See, we're looking at the clock, but He's looking at our character. We're watching minutes pass, but He's watching growth happen. He knows the version of you that prayed for it isn't always the version that's ready to carry it. So He waits not to punish you, but to prepare you. That frustration, that's the tension between your current faith and your future capacity. You've got to understand God's not in a rush. He's not reactive like we are. He's intentional. He's strategic. And His timing is always layered. While you're praying for the blessing, He's aligning the right people, clearing out the wrong ones, opening doors, and even protecting you from stuff you didn't know was coming. You think you're just waiting, but you're being covered. The reason His timing feels so slow is because He's not just thinking about you, He's thinking about legacy, generational impact. What He's doing through you is bigger than your feelings and deeper than your deadline. He's building something that's going to outlive you. So yeah, it's taking longer than you thought, but when it hits, it's going to bless more than just you. We hate the wait because we think it means nothing is happening. But the wait is where the transformation happens. It's where your roots grow deep. It's where your trust matures. It's where you learn to worship without evidence, believe without proof, and love without a sign. And the truth is, if God gave it to you too early, it would crush you. Delay is not denial, it's development. Sometimes the most anointed thing you can do is be still. Not because you're late, but because you trust the pace of heaven. And stillness doesn't mean doing nothing, it means moving without panic. It means preparing like the answer's already scheduled. It means showing up even when there's no visible progress, because you know God's calendar isn't broken. You're not being punished in the way you're being refined. There's something in you that needed this stretch. This quiet season is revealing who's real, what's essential, and what's just noise. And when you come out on the other side, you won't just be ready, you'll be trusted. God can't release destiny to someone who can't handle delay. He's too wise to waste favor. And when it finally shows up, when the timing clicks into place, you'll realize it had to be this way. You'll thank God for every not yet, every wait, every closed door, every detour, and every long night. Because what's arriving wasn't rushed, it was crafted. Not according to your clock, but according to His flawless plan. You woke up today. That's not just routine, that's a reminder. A reminder that your story isn't finished, your purpose isn't canceled, and your potential didn't expire. See, when life hits you hard, the first thing it tries to do is convince you it's over, that the setback is final, that the pain defines you. But if you still got breath in your lungs, then God still has a reason for your presence. Breath means battle. It means the war isn't done. It means heaven hasn't closed the book on you. You may be bruised, you may be tired, but you are still here. And that means you're still chosen. You're still called. You're still dangerous to the enemy. You don't have to feel strong to still be fighting. You just have to keep breathing. That alone is defiance against defeat. Don't confuse being overwhelmed with being out of the game. You're not out. You're just in a round that's testing your endurance. Fighters don't win because they never take a hit. They win because they keep swinging. You may be bleeding. You may have stumbled. But if you're still conscious, if you're still breathing, then you've still got something left to give. Some of your most powerful breakthroughs will come after your biggest breakdowns. And some of your greatest strengths will rise from your lowest moments. You've got to remind yourself, pain doesn't cancel promise. Disappointment doesn't override destiny. If life didn't take you out, then there's still a version of you that hell is afraid of becoming. Don't let your current chapter trick you into forgetting the whole story. You've come through storms before. You've survived what others didn't. You've walked through fire and didn't burn up. And now you're going to quit because it's hard again. No, you were built for this. You didn't make it this far just to back down when things get real. You're not fighting for just today, you're fighting for everything connected to you. For your future, for your family, for the people who will come after you. Your breath is a seed. Every inhalation is a vote for survival. Every exhale is a declaration, I'm not done yet. And whether you whisper it or scream it, that breath is your battle cry. The enemy wants you to forget your breath is a weapon. Your consistency is lethal. Your ability to keep showing up is more powerful than the perfection you think you need. You don't need to be impressive, you need to be unshakable. And that starts by not letting the breath in your body go to waste on fear, shame, or quitting. So inhale purpose, exhale fear. Inhale grace, exhale guilt. As long as you're still breathing, you still got a chance to flip the script, to rewrite the ending, to rise from the ashes, to walk back into the ring and say, this fight isn't over, and neither am I. There's a voice in your head that shows up every time life gets heavy. That voice that says you're not enough, you're tired, just give up. That's the quitting you're talking. Let's be real, it's loud sometimes. Especially when nothing's working, when you're doing your best and getting the worst, when all you want is a break, but all you get is another break. But I need you to hear this, that voice is a liar. No matter how loud the quit gets, the God in you is louder. You were never built to fold under pressure, you were built to rise in it. And I know you feel weak right now. I know you're on edge. I know you thought about walking away, maybe not from life, but from the dream, the goal, the calling. But something in you keeps holding on. That something isn't just willpower, it's God power. That quiet strength, that push that says try again, that's Him. The quit in you is fueled by your feelings. It thrives in tiredness and disappointment, confusion. But the God in you doesn't run on feelings, he runs on faith. Faith doesn't need evidence. Faith doesn't need perfect conditions. Faith just needs a yes. A shaky, scared, tear-filled yes is still powerful. It still unlocks heaven. It still keeps you moving when everything around you says stop. When the quit in you says you're done, the God in you whispers, I'm not. That whisper is stronger than the scream of doubt because it carries authority. It carries a legacy. It carries divine backing. You might feel like quitting, but the one who created you hasn't changed his mind about you. That calling on your life still stands even when your energy doesn't. You've got to stop waiting until you feel strong enough to move. Move with the limp. Move with the fear. Move with the question. Every time you choose faith over feelings, you shrink the guilt and amplify the God. You may not win every battle right away, but the fact that you're still standing, still trying, that's victory in motion, that's spiritual warfare, that's heaven smiling and hell shaking. You've been lied to by life. Told you that struggle means failure, that hardship means you missed it. But sometimes the fight is the confirmation you're not under attack because you're weak, you're under attack because you're dangerous. The enemy isn't scared of someone who quits. He's terrified of someone who keeps going when they have every reason not to. The quiet in you wants comfort. The God in you wants to be called. That's why it hurts, because call always costs more than comfort. You're being stretched, yes. You're being challenged, yes. But that's what happens when greatness is being pulled out of you. Growth is painful. However, quitting is far more expensive in the long run. And the God in you didn't bring you this far to drop you now. So talk back to that quit. Let it know who's really in charge. Let it know that you may bend, but you won't break. You may cry, but you won't collapse. You may doubt it, but you won't disappear. Because the quit in you is not bigger than the God in you, and the God in you is not done showing the world who you are.